What if the relationship at the center of the Testaments isn't just friendship, but something Gilead itself is terrified of? Because after episode 10, there's growing evidence that Agnes and Becca's connection goes far deeper than loyalty or sisterhood. And honestly, once you start looking closely at the way the show frames their scenes together, it becomes hard to ignore. From the very beginning of the season, Agnes and Becka have been emotionally inseparable. In a world where every interaction is controlled, every marriage arranged, and every feeling monitored, the two girls consistently seek comfort in each other first. Not their families, not the aunts, not the commanders, each other. And episode May 10th have quietly confirmed that their bond is becoming something much more dangerous in the eyes of Gilead. The finale spends a lot of time showing characters breaking under pressure, but Agnes and Becka are different. Their connection becomes stronger the worse things get. That's important because the Testaments repeatedly shows us that Gilead thrives by isolating people emotionally. The regime survives by preventing genuine human attachment unless it serves the state. Marriage in Gilead is political. Childbirth is political. Even friendship is political. Real emotional intimacy is treated like a threat because it gives people something worth fighting for beyond obedience. And that's exactly why Agnes and Becka matter so much. One of the biggest clues comes from how Agnes reacts whenever Becka is in danger. Think about the intensity of her emotions throughout the later episodes. When Becka is matched with Garth, Agnes doesn't react like someone casually upset about losing a friend. She spirals emotionally. She becomes withdrawn, jealous, frustrated, and reckless. The show frames it almost like heartbreak. Even during scenes where Agnes tries to convince herself she's happy for Becka, the camera lingers on her expressions in ways that suggest emotional devastation rather than mild disappointment. And then there's Garth himself. The interesting thing about Garth is that he almost functions less as a genuine love interest and more as a symbol. Agnes is attracted to him partly because he represents freedom, rebellion, and escape from the suffocating structure of Gilead. But every time Agnes gets emotionally vulnerable, the person she actually opens up to is Becka, not Garth. That distinction matters, because the series keeps drawing a line between romantic fantasy and emotional reality. Agnes may think she wants Garth because that's the only acceptable framework Gilead has given her for desire. But emotionally, her deepest attachment consistently points somewhere else. Episode 10 pushes this even further after Becca's breakdown. Once Becka kills Dr. Grove, everything changes. That moment isn't just revenge. It's trauma exploding after years of silence and fear. But look carefully at who Becka runs to afterward. She doesn't flee randomly. She goes directly to Agnes. Covered in fear, panic, and blood, Agnes is the person she trusts most in the entire world. That scene feels incredibly intimate emotionally. Agnes comforting Becka, trying to protect her, holding her while Becka falls apart. It's filmed with a tenderness the show rarely gives any other relationship. There's a raw emotional honesty there that stands apart from the cold, transactional relationships surrounding them. And honestly, Gilead probably understands exactly what that means. That's why the regime constantly separates girls emotionally before marriage. It's why affection between women is tightly monitored. Gilead fears emotional loyalty that competes with obedience to husbands and commanders. A relationship built on genuine trust becomes revolutionary in itself. What makes this theory even more interesting is Becca's own behavior throughout the season. She repeatedly seems more emotionally invested in Agnes than in the future Gilead is trying to force onto her. Even when discussing marriage, Becka often looks uncomfortable or detached. But around Agnes, she softens. There's warmth there, safety, vulnerability, and Daisy notices it too. The show quietly hints multiple times that Daisy understands there's something emotionally significant happening between them. Earlier episodes even establish that Daisy becomes aware of Becca's secret feelings and realizes how dangerous they could become inside Gilead. The important thing is that Daisy never weaponizes this knowledge, even when she absolutely could have. Instead, she protects it. That choice matters narratively because it tells the audience the show views these feelings sympathetically, not manipulatively. Another reason this theory works so well is because the Testaments constantly explores hidden identities. Nearly every major character is performing survival. Daisy is secretly an infiltrator. Aunt Lydia is secretly undermining Gilead. Garth is hiding his true allegiances. Everyone is pretending to survive. So it would make perfect thematic sense for Agnes and Becka to also be suppressing feelings they don't fully understand in a society designed to erase them. And remember, neither girl has grown up in a world where emotional or romantic attraction between women could even be discussed openly. Gilead has removed the language for it. That means their feelings would naturally emerge through confusion, attachment, jealousy, dependency, and emotional protectiveness rather than explicit declarations. That's why the relationship feels so layered. The show never has to outright say it. Instead, it communicates it through lingering looks, emotional reactions, physical closeness, and sacrifice. Agnes repeatedly risks herself emotionally for Becka. Becka repeatedly trusts Agnes above everyone else. Their bond becomes stronger precisely when the world around them becomes more brutal. Episode 10 especially reinforces this idea during the aftermath of Becca's arrest. Agnes completely unravels emotionally when Becka is taken away. The way she screams for her, fights against being restrained, and desperately tries to reach her feels devastatingly personal. It's one of the most emotionally charged moments of the season, and it raises a huge question heading into the future of the story. Could Agnes's eventual rebellion against Gilead be motivated as much by love as by politics? Because revolutions in stories like this often become personal before they become ideological. People don't just fight systems because the systems are wrong. They fight because someone they love suffers under them. That could become Agnes's turning point. Especially because episode 10 subtly shows her losing faith in nearly every institution around her. Her family fails her. The commanders fail her. The school fails her. Even a marriage system disgusts her now. But Becka remains the one emotional constant she genuinely cares about. And if Becka suffers because of Gilead, Agnes may eventually stop fearing the system altogether. There's also something deeply tragic about how this relationship mirrors June's story from The Handmaid's Tale. June survived because she kept holding on to forbidden emotional attachments. Love became resistance. Human connection became rebellion. Agnes may be inheriting that trait from her mother without even realizing it. The finale quietly suggests this inheritance multiple times. Agnes begins challenging authority more openly. She questions the structures around her. She starts acting emotionally instead of obediently. She becomes less passive, more dangerous. And Becka may be the catalyst for all of it. One thing the show does brilliantly is portray how oppressive systems distort emotions rather than erase them. Gilead can force marriages, but it cannot fully control human attachment. Feelings still emerge in unpredictable ways. That's why relationships in the Testaments feel so emotionally messy and complicated. Nobody has healthy language for what they're experiencing. Agnes especially feels trapped between what she's supposed to want and what she actually feels. That internal conflict may become central moving forward. Another fascinating possibility is that Aunt Lydia already suspects something. Lydia is incredibly observant. She notices emotional dynamics others miss. And throughout the season, she seems unusually protective of Agnes and Becka compared to the other girls.
Why?
Possibly because she recognizes that emotional attachment can either destroy people or radicalize them. And Lydia, despite all her manipulation, increasingly seems interested in creating cracks within Gilead's structure. Protecting Agnes and Becka could ultimately serve her larger plans. There's also the symbolic side of all this. Throughout the season, Agnes collects forbidden objects and hidden memories from the outside world. Becka, meanwhile, struggles with the trauma hidden inside her own family. Together, they represent two different forms of awakening. Agnes is awakening emotionally and intellectually. Becka is awakening through pain and rage. When those journeys intersect, it creates something explosive. That's why their scenes carry so much emotional tension. Even small moments feel loaded with meaning because both girls are reaching for emotional freedom in a world designed to crush it. And honestly, that may be why audiences have connected so strongly to them already. Their relationship feels human in a story full of control and performance. Whether the show eventually confirms romantic feelings outright or keeps things more emotionally ambiguous, the emotional truth underneath it is already there. They love each other in some form. The real question is whether Gilead will allow either of them to survive long enough to understand what that love actually means. Because if there's one thing the Testaments keeps proving, it's that Gilead fears love more than violence. Violence can be controlled. Fear can be controlled. But genuine emotional connection? That's what eventually destroys systems like this from the inside. And episode May 10th have just revealed the beginning of that collapse through Agnes and Becca's relationship.